Safety focus of the week. It is February 24th. Got a couple good new speakers with us today. Beth and Richard Keach can join us. It's great. So this week's code of conduct is to promote the code. Pretty straightforward code item, but if there's anything you'd like to highlight, Ben, feel free.
Highlight or re-clarify. Support it, actively encourage it, endorse it, further progress it. Those are other ways of saying it. In other words, incorporate it into your daily operations every day in your life and at ECI. And I think I try to do that, and I think it helps me.
Well said. So up to 250 days without a recordable. Nice little milestone there. 30 days from our last first aid related injury. So we got a nice little track record. Let's not let today be the day that wipes this out. So let's start the day with a good JHA after our safety meeting, and let's communicate our hazards, and let's not take unnecessary risk, and let's eliminate any unsafe conditions on our job sites. All right, Beth, I'm going to fire up your presentation.
Great.
Do you see that okay?
I do indeed. So you can you'll move with me, hopefully.
Yep.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Beth Schiller. Many of you have met me at Champlain Medical Urgent Care. I'm the owner. And this morning's topic is diabetes, or for some of you more veteran folks, you may have called it the sugars back in the day. And so what we're going to do very quickly and go through is, I'm not going to try not to bore you, is we're going to talk about what is diabetes, what are the types of diabetes, what testing can tell whether or not you have diabetes, why it's important to manage diabetes, and what can you do to manage any risk factors that you may have moving forward. So first of all, what is diabetes? So the long and short of it is we have this thing, that ugly thing on the right-hand side called our pancreas. And one of the jobs of the pancreas is to supply insulin. And you think, what's the big deal? I don't need any insulin. But essentially, in order for your body to take any sugar or a starch that we eat, insulin provides sort of a magic connection that allows the cells in our bodies to actually utilize that sugar as fuel for the body. And so what happens with diabetes, and we'll talk about the two types in a moment, but essentially the pancreas gets lazy, it gets worn down, and at some point it doesn't produce enough insulin to manage the food that we're eating on a daily basis. So what happens is we end up having sugar in our bloodstream. Talking about the two types of diabetes, there's type 1 and then there's type 2. Type 1 is generally, what's going on with type 1 is your pancreas said, forget it, I'm not interested in helping you out. And generally it's childhood, or people that have a type 1, there's no insulin being produced, and so they're on insulin for the rest of their life in order for the body to be able to utilize the food that they're eating. Type 2 is typically diagnosed as an adult, and it's when the pancreas is worn down, too much stress, or it may have been predisposed to your family genetics. In other words, you might have family members that have diabetes, and so you're the lucky one, you got some of their genetics, and so your body is a little predisposed to that worn down pancreas. Okay, diabetes by the number. So when you guys come in to see us for your DOT physical, one of the things we do is we ask you for a urine sample. And so what are we looking for? We're looking for glucose actually in the urine. And so when it's negative, everything's good, but anything more than negative is an indication that either you're coming up on diabetes, or perhaps we've over the years, diagnosed an awful lot of folks that had no idea they were diabetic through their DOT physical. Another one, for those of you that have had this, the big one is hemoglobin A1C, which what it does is it takes a look backwards to see over the last 90 days, what's your average sugar been hanging out at? And so anything that is under 6.0, or actually more like under 5.5 and under, says that, nope, you're not diabetic and you've got nothing to worry about, at least for the moment. When you're between 5.5 and 6, that's when we start generally having a conversation about just making some pretty easy lifestyle changes. Frequently, we find people are drinking soft drinks that have sugar in it, and those soft drinks might have 10 or 12 tablespoons of sugar per drink. And sometimes just by getting rid of that, that can really change numbers around for folks. And the last thing we use is the glucometer, where you stick your finger and then you get a little sample of blood, and it tells you at that moment what your blood sugar is doing. Essentially, a lot of times we'll go to the doctor's office and they'll ask you to be fasting before your blood work. And so when we're looking at a fasting glucose, meaning that you haven't had any food in the last 8 hours or any coffee or sugar, anything over 120 is suspect for either prediabetes or diabetes. And then if we do it anytime during the day and it's over 180, that's defined as having diabetes. Okay, so what's the big deal about diabetes? Diabetes affects everything. Uncontrolled diabetes means that your blood has excess sugar that can't be used by the cells. So as a result, it's a toxin to everything in your body. Those of you that have diabetes, or maybe you know a friend or a relative, this thing called peripheral neuropathy, it's where you have pins and needles in your feet. You can't feel stuff. You might step on something. You might step on a sharp object and not even know it, and not have your normal sensory going on. Blindness is another issue, not with controlled diabetes, but with uncontrolled diabetes. Heart disease. Over time, the high blood sugars it's gonna damage the vessels and nerves that are in your heart. Kidney disease. Believe it or not, your kidneys do more than make you pee. Your kidneys are very, very important in flushing out all the toxins that then become pee. And if your kidneys get damaged, you end up having dialysis. Perhaps you've heard of people having dialysis. People end up having to go a lot of times to the hospital 3 times a week and sit there for 6 hours a day, so that they get all the toxins out of their body. And then the other thing is increased healing time. So your body's working overtime, and it takes longer to heal from wounds. It takes sometimes longer to heal from being sick as well. Okay, the biggest risk factors, if you have any family history of diabetes, you've already gotten the magic, you're now predisposed for diabetes. Does that mean you're going to get diabetes? Not necessarily. However, that potential is now there more so than if you don't have any family history of diabetes. Being overweight, your body develops a resistance to insulin. So in other words, the insulin can't work as well as it should. And then that also puts you at risk, because if you can't push out as much insulin, now you've got excess sugar running around. You got high blood pressure, and it's not controlled. That also puts you at risk for this insulin resistance, which then can cause the diabetes. Okay, so how do you manage your risks? For those of you that have primary care, just be sure to remind them of any of the risk factors that you have and know your numbers, and feel free to ask questions when you're not sure what things mean. I think that's really important, and it's part of primary care to mentor you and provide you with information. That's our goal as providers. We're not here to dictate. We're here to work with you and help you manage what's going on for you. For those of you that don't have primary care, join the wellness program, and we can discuss your risks and evaluate your risk for diabetes, pre-diabetes, and so on and so forth. And I'll also put another plug in there. The wellness program, if you do have primary care, but you just want access to care, we can be a great option for you and work with you in concert with your primary care. Okay, last but not least, so when you're thinking about what you're eating, on the left we have high protein, low carbohydrate, and it's in a wrap or some multigrain bread. And on the right, well, we can see we have a very nice high carb protein meal, lots of fat, lots of carbs, and I'm guessing that drink is probably not a Diet Coke, but a full Coke with probably 10 tablespoons of sugar in it. So one last thing, diabetes is preventable and it's reversible, believe it or not. And so getting ahead of it and making some life changes can make a huge difference. And then down the road, when you're retired and you want to be active with your grandkids, it allows you to do that. And I just wanted to thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach out by either email or you can make an appointment with us. And we're happy to sit down and take the time and explain a little bit more for you.
Thank you, Beth. Very, very informative.
Yeah, thanks, Beth.
You're welcome.
Any questions from anybody out there before we move on? Anyone want to chime in? Oh,
Everybody's sleeping.
Oh, they should be calling you direct then, Beth, to ask their personal medical questions.
Yeah.
You bet.
All right. Well, good.
Thinking
Thank
about
you.
what we're gonna eat today, Ken. It's like,
Yeah.
whether we're gonna change it or not after that last picture.
It didn't seem to rule out Al's French fries.
That's what I was thinking. Is Al's okay, Beth?
Probably not.
No.
Oh,
A carb is a carb. Doesn't
Oh.
matter whether it's from Al's or McDonald's.
Oh.
I just thought Al's was more high quality.
Well, yeah, it's better grease.
Thank
So
you,
do
Beth.
it in moderation, right? All right. Let's see. Matt, could you put on the screen? I can put it on, but I couldn't expand it out to fill my full screen. Maybe you can. I normally do it in my other computer, which looks like it's kind of cycling through multiple reboots. I was up to 65% now.
Yep.
Never had an update like this.
I can pull it up.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just couldn't expand it out to kind of fill the full screen. And is Richard out there ready to go?
Richard, you with us?
Uh-oh. Hope so.
Well, can you see the screen, Ken?
Yes, I do. Can you expand it more, or is that it? So I couldn't zoom in.
160
There you
good?
go. Yeah, 160 is usually good. Okay. All right. So for announcements, just a cybersecurity reminder, which applies to pretty much all aspects of anything we do nowadays through a computer. And this announcement is really specific to our 401k program, but the online portal through the Newport Group is a great way to track and manage your 401k, just like a lot of banking and whatever you might do. Even medical stuff can be done online. It's a great way to track and manage it, whatever it is you're dealing with. However, like all online activity, there's a risk of a data breach. Newport uses a multi-factor authentication, which is short an MFA, when using a device and on a regular periodic, when you're using a new device and on a regular periodic basis. So what happens is you'll get a notice every once in a while, even if you're using your regular computer. Hey, you need to verify. Should it'll ask you to send if it'll send you a text to your cell phone, then you have a number you put in the computer. So that's the multi-factor authorization, and it's important to follow all our good practices, and that's one of them. So also they'll remind you to. We also want to remind you, or Newport does, that you should never check your accounts on a public Wi-Fi. And then also another announcement, new vehicle insurance certificates are in, so check with Sarah. So any motor vehicle that we have in our fleet needs one of these cards. And new employees, we have Sean Moritz, if I pronounce that right, hopefully, and he is a driver, new driver for ECI. So welcome, Sean. And we had a nice discussion on the primary care wellness program. So make sure, if you're not already enrolled, that you call up and get enrolled. Just takes probably an hour of time just to have a physical, and then a yearly physical after that. Weather is back to real winter here. It looks like it's pretty much staying cold for at least the next few days, and maybe a little longer. And then we have Richard talking about the Trimble equipment we have. And hey, look at that model. That must be one of those paid models to show off Trimble equipment there. Is that right, Richard? Oh, you're muted, Richard. You're still muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Richard. You hooked to any Bluetooth devices, maybe? No.
Sometimes it happens when you're hooked into a screen with an HDMI. It thinks it needs to get its microphone from an HDMI cord.
Right. Yeah.
I've had that happen.
And you can do your phone. You can log in on your phone real quick if you want to.
How about now?
Loud and clear.
There we go. Guess my computer doesn't want to work today.
Same as mine.
Yeah. I'll turn the camera off because nobody wants to see that this early. So. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we just wanted to review all of our equipment that we have for Trimble. We have a lot of new equipment we've acquired. I mean, I've been here 4 years. We went from having, 2 pieces of equipment to having 9, actually soon to be 10 pieces of equipment. So just want to kind of go over all the stuff that we have and the different things we have. So we have handheld rovers, similar to what you see there in the picture. But we also have a group of Trimble and SciTech employees that help us out a lot, and those numbers are right there on the front. There's a same. Basically, if you have any problems with anything, whether it's one of your handheld rovers, whether it's one of your machine control machines, dozer, excavator, if you can't get a hold of one of us, or if you're having problems and we don't know how to solve, any one of those guys, either the hotline or Mike or Andrew, can help you out. So any of the operators or guys that are using this stuff, maybe save those numbers in your phone. Like I said, you give us a call. We're not able to give you a hand, or we're out of town or something like that. Give one of those guys a call and they can walk you through what you need. The helpline is the hotline is really helpful, but obviously it can get kind of busy. So having either one of the other guys help you out. And then on the next slide, yeah, these are basically all the different software we use. The SiteWork software, the lower left, that is going to be like your rover, your handheld software. We can able to load jobs, surfaces, line work, all from the CAD files. So you guys can basically see what you see on the plans right in front of you on the screen. And you're able to just select whatever you want, pick a line on it and stake it. So if you're doing a sewer run, you can literally go right to the plan, select the line, and you can stake that line. We can put elevations on them so you know exactly how deep to dig, all that stuff. On the right-hand side, you'll see the two types we have for the machine control. The GCS 900 is the older software. You're going to find that in the 700 dozer, the 290 excavator, and also we have it in the skid steer with the box blade. Basically, they couldn't fit the full-size tablet into the small skid steer, so that's why that's in there. And then the touch screen is the Earthworks software. That's pretty much in every other piece of equipment we have. It's a touch screen. You can have up to 3 screens on, kind of like what it shows there. Full 3D. You can see all your models. You can see all your line work, everything. That's also what we have on our simulator here in the survey building is Earthworks. So if you guys have any questions or want to learn more about that stuff, we do have a simulator set up over here that you can get on and practice. Obviously, we don't need to teach you how to run the equipment. We need to teach you how to run the Earthworks software. So we have that available over here. We're also hoping to do a training sometime in the end of March where we're going to bring in SciTech to go over all these pieces of equipment with our foremen, operators, field engineers, everything, and surveyors, because we need to learn how to use this stuff as much as you guys do. So this is also one of the things we use it for, grading, obviously. We have the Trimble robot. It's a robotic total station that you can use for grading. You can put a prism right on one of the pieces of equipment, and it'll track wherever you go on the job. And that allows you to get grading within 1/4 of an inch, sometimes even less, depending on the conditions. So, and also you see the box blade skid steer there. We can use that for fine grading. That is over at Camp Johnson right there on a parking lot. And then, just your standard dozer grading. A lot quicker. You notice that none of these jobs, you don't see any grade stakes lining the side of the road. You don't see any, guys standing there constantly checking grades with a laser. I recommend you still check grades with a laser just to make sure. It's always good to double check that stuff. We're not perfect when we build these models, as you'll see when you get towards the end of this presentation. These things are not easy to build, so there are mistakes in them. So here's some of the excavating jobs we've done, and you can see every one of these jobs was either a road closure or a single lane detour. So the one on the left is Addison when we did the culvert down there. Jerry was able to get in there, dig a hole basically in across the sandbar in Lake Champlain. Nobody down in the hole, nobody climbing down in there, have to worry about checking grades. Took a lot of the hazards out of the job and was able to do it all right from the machine, basically, without putting anybody down in a hole where there was water. The middle one is Ken Allard's job. Same thing. You notice there's not a ton of grade stakes. He was able to dig that all out and grade it all. The far right one is the rail project we did in Dorset. Dorset, I think. You see the shape of that. Able to go in there and shape it exactly the way we needed it done. Minimize the amount of excavation. There's no over dig, no overcutting of the pavement. Able to get it nice, clean. So all those jobs are done with machine control. So Here's kind of what your basic Trimble rover setup looks like. It's your handheld device. Basically, you have a tablet data collector. It's also your shows you your screens and everything like that. All your mapping, as you can see on the left-hand side. Your models. Pretty lightweight, easy to get around, and extremely powerful. All your as-builts, all your layout, all that stuff can be done with this. Same thing, you know, you do have grades on these, but I still recommend double checking your elevations. You know, you can get really accurate with these horizontally. I mean, basically within the, you know, tip of a pencil. But when it comes to verticals, it's a lot harder to get that accurate. Your satellites are 12 miles away, so they're a little tough to get that accurate at pinpoint when you have those kind of distances from your satellites. So still recommend double checking all your elevations with lasers and stuff. But when you're doing your layout, this is definitely a extremely fast way to do it. We have quite a few of these now, but hopefully acquiring some more. Every time we do a state job, they basically require one of these for the state to have. And so, you know, through Route 2A project right in front of us, the park and ride, you know, we've been able to accrue a couple of these. So we're hoping to be able to spread them out onto some of the jobs once we get people trained up on them. That'll take a lot of pressure off from the survey guys and some of the projects that are farther away. I know Royalton's a big one. You know, that's going to be a layout heavy job. So having one of these on site saves us driving back and forth, you know, 3 or 4 times a week just to do layout. There's already a guy on site. It's a much more efficient way to do it when there's already somebody there versus one of us driving all the way down there just to pound some grade stakes in. So these are the surface models that we build. This one is kind of should be fresh in everybody's mind. This is the did a presentation on the Bushy Pit stormwater project a couple weeks ago. So basically, this is the model that we build. So you can see the plan in the upper right-hand corner from Krebs and Lansing, and you can see the detail of the pond on there. So basically, we take that and turn it into what you see down below. Basically, that's just a shaded plan. And then on the bottom right-hand side, I don't know if you can see, but there are millions of little triangles inside that. So that is a tin model or a TTM if it's going into Trimble. Basically, it's a Trimble triangulation model, or basically a triangulation model is what it is. So basically, it takes millions of these little triangles and takes 3 points of elevations and builds the model from those. So we have to do those. We don't have to draw every triangle, thank God, but we have to make sure that we draw the 3D polylines around the bottom of the pond, the top of the pond, everything. So it's a lot of work to go into one of these. Actually, that one was one of the easier ones. Working on Highgate Airport right now. You know, when you have a 4,000-foot runway that's getting regraded, that would take some time. You know, and it's meticulous checking it. So, but once again, that's a whole lot of layout we'd have to do traditionally if we didn't have the machine control. So these are some cool things that they have out now. Some new technology that Trimble's come out with. The Sight Vision one is one that I could certainly see a benefit to with ECI. Basically, it allows you to plug your phone in to this device. You see there's a little GPS attached to it. So you can load all your plans into your phone, and basically you could walk around your site and hold it up, and it'll show you. You could be on a wooded site, you know, or an open field, and it'll show you basically what your job's supposed to look like at that specific spot. And you can basically mitigate any hazards immediately. You know, if you're walking around and you're like, oh, hey, on the plans it didn't show this, you know, this ditch here, or oh, we got a road going through right here and there's some ledge exposed. We're gonna have to bring in a blaster. All these things that you could do beforehand. It's just sometimes hard to see when you're on a site walking around with plans. It's just some neat technology that allows you to kind of do some pre-construction stuff and also track how things are going. The vehicle mounts, if you're doing large projects, I know we've used these on, I used them on a previous employer with a survey, to survey solar fields. Unfortunately, yes, it does make you a little lazy when you just get to ride around in a truck surveying a large property, but also the benefits and the speed of being able to do large scale topographic right from the vehicle, basically. You can also set up a base station on your vehicle. So if your vehicle is going to be parked in one spot, you can establish it as a base and then use your rover off from that. There's a lot of different things you can use those vehicle mounts for. We don't usually do a lot of projects big enough to warrant one of those, but the HoloLens is another really neat one. Basically, you can see there's a large pack on the back of the hard hat. That's a GPS unit. And basically in your lens, you basically can see everything in front of you that's inside a project. They use these a lot in, obviously, in big building projects, because you can see your entire building. You can be standing in a vacant lot and you can see your entire building in front of you. You can pick layers so you can see your, if it's a steel frame, you can see all your steel framing. You can select different layers, see all your electrical, all your HVAC stuff. But even for us, you could do the same thing as kind of what the Sight Vision does. Is you can walk around your site and see everything the way your site's supposed to be made, right inside the goggles that are on you. And the goggles have basically like a tint to them, so you can see through them, but it also shows you all of this stuff, kind of transparent in the goggles. It's a pretty neat thing. But I do have a short video with the Sight Vision stuff. I don't know if Matt, you can bring that up or not, but
Yeah, it's right on the website, right?
yeah, I do have the link to it there, but
It's right here, right, Richard?
yep. Yeah, so this is the Sight Vision
Through LinkedIn.
The one I did was right through the Trimble website, but there was a link that I sent you, that bottom one there. Yeah.
This one? It's not this one, is it?
Yeah, that one right there.
Okay.
So you can, you're allowed to check grades. It'll tell you so it overlays your 3D model and plans right on top of your existing. Shows you cut fills. So you can exactly, you can manage software, adds to-do lists. Say there's an area that's a little too high. Say, hey, we want to shave this down a little bit, like a section like that. You can make a note saying, oh, we got a high spot. All your infrastructure.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, just as for planning, like say, hey, oh, that's the next phase of the job. We gotta, get some stuff out of the way because we got to start pouring that concrete slab because it goes right here. Even before you do the actual layout of it, it allows you do a lot more planning. Also, like I said, allows you to see all your infrastructure, so you keep stuff out of the way. This is a lot of the same type of stuff you can see in Earthworks also, that you can work, and you can do a lot of the same drawing and things like that. But yeah, allows you to do a layout of a flat pad and then send it right to the machine. the quantity checks. You can literally just draw a polygon around an area that you want to say you're excavating that out, or exactly got to put topsoil in that area. That's how much topsoil you need for that one spot. You know exactly how many trucks to bring in for it. A lot quicker than than taping it out.
So you could figure out how much asphalt you need for an area by saying, here's your limits right on your device, and here's your quantity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and the thing is every guy on the site has a phone or has a tablet or something like that that you can hook to that device. So they're pretty efficient, and just same thing. Like, you can have a rover on site, but this is a lot easier, much more compact. And it's quicker because you don't have to worry about setting up. Okay, we got to hook it up to the base. We got to do this. We got to do that. A lot of these you can just walk around and get those quantities, get quick elevations. And like I said, it's not going to give you exact, but it'll give you, okay, we still got to cut another foot out of here, and then you can check it versus that stuff. But yeah, that's some of the newer stuff that's coming out. So any of the guys that are going to Con Expo, there's Trimble's going to have obviously we'll have a big presence there. You guys can go check out some of the new stuff that they're coming out with.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll bet they spent a big effort there.
Yeah, they've mentioned it to us a few times and asking us if we're going out there. And so like I said, I want to make sure everybody knew that they're pushing, but there's some pretty cool new stuff that's out there.
I can see some real good use for these technologies, and I'm glad we're at where we're at. And I think this picture in the photo archives here shows 2010. There's Mike with a little device, GPS, doing some check out there on the substation project we did back then, and back in February.
Looks like a warm February.
2010. What's that?
That looks like a warm February too.
Yeah.
Hey, Richard, I have a question.
Sure.
On tolerances, generally, for machine control or GPS rover, what are we looking at left and right, and also up and down in elevation?
Your left and right, honestly, the longer you stay in any one place, the thing's constantly taking readings and doing corrections and stuff. So anytime, the longer you stay in one place, the more accurate it's going to be. But for the most part, horizontally, you can get within a quarter of an inch pretty easily. Vertically is where you start having issues. Like I said, it's hard to triangulate those kind of distances. So I would say an inch would probably be safe. Vertical. The machine control stuff, it's usually that's kind of what we're finding. The rovers can be a little bit more accurate, but depends on how tight our calibrations are, which we have a pretty strict tolerances on our calibrations. So what the calibration is basically taking the control network around the entire site, encompassing the entire site with control, and basically tightening everything up in that control network, and then that ties right to your rover and kind of makes everything a lot more accurate. So when you're hooked to a base station on site, I would say an inch, maybe even 3/4 of an inch vertical would be a safe bet. We've definitely had more accurate, but that's kind of a safe assumption. But horizontally, you can be within, like I said, you can be within a pencil tip horizontally. It's just, you can't hold at that level to get it as accurate as it can be. So
that plumb, right? So I think your point to not to throw your level in the trash and not to replace good quality level loops checked into multiple redundant solid temporary benchmarks, TBMs. I think that's a point that hopefully everybody heard you make earlier, and I think I just wanted to reinforce it, because if you are hovering around the 1 or 200th left and right, that's really tight. But if elevationally you are an inch or maybe up to a 1/10, I think we see a 1/10 tolerance sometimes with GPS. if what you're building needs to be more accurate and tighter than that, then this great technology doesn't replace differential leveling. It can work, they can work together. But I just want to remind everybody that, because as these things are showing up on every job site, it's helping us a lot. But if we forget about that vertical tolerance, which is still probably not good enough for a lot of the things we're building, we could get into trouble.
Yeah, another thing to add, Ben, is using the survey guys and using this technology should not be an excuse to release us from our responsibility to verify the accuracy of our work, both vertically and horizontally, which is a tape measure, an auto level, and our gut. You know, if you look at something and it doesn't seem right, it's probably not. And what we don't want is people sitting there for 3 days waiting for these guys to show up and solve everything for them. And then when they leave, not having a way where you can keep your work going. Work with Rich and the guys to get some control, to get some hubs that you can measure. I know the concrete guys do this a lot. These guys will come in and lay everything out, put some offsets, and have them, they'll work with you, because what we don't want to do is lose something and then wait 3 days for someone to come back. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but these guys are a great tool. But don't, like Ben said, don't throw the level away, and don't lose the ability to do it. You know,
I
you got a
think
spot.
also,
Yeah.
Also with, like, you know, an inch tolerance is pretty much okay with a pipeline, because you'll have a pipe laser, say.
Yep.
And, you know, if you're within an inch on your, you know, your grades on your gravel bedding, and you get your
Yep.
pipe in there and you just line it right to the laser, so that inch doesn't matter. The other thing is, Richard, I'm assuming that the robotic total station, when that's used, it refines that vertical tolerance a lot, right?
Yeah, with the robotic total station, like I said, you can get great accuracies. I mean, within a quarter of an inch, and we'd be actually seeing less than that. I mean, we don't use material that's you can get within a quarter of an inch usually. You know, even your fine grade material is hard to get to that. So, I mean, we found it on the bike path. We use it obviously a lot on that, and going back and of course checking it with a laser and checking it in spots. It was astonishing how accurate it was. So, yes, the total station takes that error out of it. You know, in every one of those slides that I had, whether it was the grading or whether it was the excavating, all of them said, make sure that you check your work with your laser level. You know, it's still imperative that everybody does that stuff. Like I said, you see by these models, they're hard to build. We do make mistakes. So, you know, there's safety in the software we use. There are, you know, red flags that pop up if we screw something up, but that's not perfect either. So, you know, I right out at the fuel point job, I had a problem with the tin I built. One little triangle, and Jesse's building it and is like, hey, something just doesn't quite look right here. And sure enough, I had missed one little line, one little triangle popped off the side and kind of dragged it down into the ditch a little bit. And so he had a little low spot in his road. Like I said, one of those things where he could have just said, no, Rich built it, it's good, you know, but he didn't. He said something doesn't look right here. And sure enough, it was wrong. We fixed it, reloaded it in the machine. Now everything's good. So, and that's a small, quick, easy, you know, not a very big job for us. But it's just one of those things where he knew right off the bat something didn't look right. So it's just it's always good to have those checks in place. And like in any time that you're doing anything with grade, yeah, you should have a benchmark on site so you can check your stuff.
Right. Well, you have to, like, if you're doing a pipe laser, you still need to bring that in with some other form of, you know, of survey from a benchmark.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's like the box blade skid steer. If you're doing a huge pad, we actually have these mounts you can put on it. There's like a laser mount, so you can actually set your laser up at a grade. You just put these masts right on the box blade, and you set them to your laser elevation. So say you're doing a one pad that's, you know, we did it on New Haven. Set the laser level up, and you actually set your grade on that. And we did that entire foundation, the stone and the foundation for New Haven, with that setup, because it was all the same elevation. We used it over in Essex. It's a real simple, easy way, and that's one that you pretty much, long as you get your benchmarks right and you set your laser at the right elevation, you pretty much can't screw it up. Like, it's a really easy one to use, and that takes the GPS out of it. That takes the total station out of it. You're literally just using a laser level to run the box plate on the skid steer. So, and you can use that same thing on the dozer too.
Perfect.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, thanks. Good job, Richard.
Thank you.
Have a safe day, everybody out there, and I'll turn it back over to Matt.
Yeah, thank you. Very informative. Excellent meeting today. Let's have a safe day out there. If you're watching a group setting, please let me know so I can capture attendance. Let's have a great day.